everyone. I hope everybody's having a great week this week. So, this week I thought it would be fun to do a bucket pop up card, which we're going to be doing today. And this is what it looks like. This just says, Cheers to you, officially retired, let the fun begin. And then we push it down like so. And then we have these little flaps under here. See, if we don't have it, it bows up like this. So I'm gonna these little flaps underneath. That's gonna help keep our card from doing that. So that's what it looks like with the flaps down. And then I'm just gonna turn it up, and what it is just a little ice bucket, and it has ice in it. And then I don't know if you can see these, but these are like beer bottle caps. And then there's 2 beers over here that we have, and then on this side it says congrats. And then when we want to fold it up, and of course it will stand all by itself, and then we can just take the flaps out, fold it back up, and then on the back we have this cute little place we can write a message. So I'm really excited about this card, and let's go ahead and head over to Design Space and we'll get started. So let's go, guys. Okay, now that we're in Design Space here, what I want you to do is hit New Project. So we'll hit that. I want you to go to File and then New Window. To have that open, I want you to go and find the hot cocoa pop-up card that we made. And then once you have that project that we made, I want you to click on it and then hit Customize. And these are the pieces I'm going to need you to get for this project. We're going to need this long piece, which looks like that, both of these pieces, and then these 2 pieces. Then once we have that, we're going to grab all of those pieces. So you should have a total of 5 pieces. Then we're going to right click and hit copy. Then we're going to go over to that new page we have open, right click and hit paste. And it's going to bring all of it up. Now it should be highlighted, but if you accidentally click, that's okay. Just go up to the top and hit select all. Then we're going to hit align and center. Now what we're going to do is resize this to the size we need to make this pop-up card. So we should, when we change the width, it should go ahead and change the height to what we need. But we're going to change the width to 7. And then it should have changed your height to 2.488, and that's exactly what we wanted at. So now we have all of these pieces that we need. So what we're going to need is to bring this green piece forward. I'm going to go over to shapes, get a square. We're going to change that square to 1 by 2 and 1/8 of an inch. And then once we have that, we're going to right click, duplicate, and we're going to make 6 of these. Okay, then once we have all of these pieces, we can just group it together and move it aside. And if you have not yet made the hot cocoa pop-up card, I'm going to link that below, and you'll be able to go to that video and make the pieces that is needed for this part of the card. The rest we're going to make in Design Space right now. So this is the piece we're going to be using in Design Space. Here's the number so you can go over and find it directly in images by typing this number in. So while we're here, let's go ahead and work on this piece. So click on it, and then we're going to go over to Contour, and we're going to hit Hide All Contours. Then we're going to click on the right side of the handle, the left side of the handle, and the center part here. And then we're going to go to the top and get rid of the bottom of the bucket. We're going to hit the X, and now we have the handle. Now let's go up to offset, and we're going to type in the box 0.075 and then hit apply. And now we have this. So grab them both, and we need to resize this. We need to resize it to 3.132. Okay. Then once we have that, let's go over to the top right and hit group, and then we can just move this one out of the way. So now we're going to make this piece here. So let's go over to shapes, and we're going to get a square. So click on square, and then let's go back to shapes, and let's get a circle. We are going to make that circle 2.806, and that's going to be in width and height. And then we're going to make that square 7/8 of an inch by 3.5, and 7/8 of an inch is 0.875. Okay. Then we're going to position our circle at 0 and 0 for our X and our Y. Then we're going to take our stick here we made, and we are going to position the X at 0.965, the Y at 2.319. Then we're going to grab it both and come down here to the right bottom and hit weld. And then we have this right here, is right click on it and duplicate, because we're going to need 2 of these. Then we're going to go to shapes. We're going to get a circle, and then we're going to come up and we're going to make that circle 2.5 inches. And that we're going to use for our pretty for the center. And then you can right click and duplicate if you would like to do something else on the back of it. And then we can hit group, and then we can move this down to our completed items. We're also going to need acetate, and to make mine, it is not a very good sturdy acetate. So if yours isn't sturdy, I found that 4 pieces work really good taped together, because you're not going to see it. And we're going to make 4 of these, and we want it a 1/2 inch by 5 1/2. And then we can move these aside. Let's go ahead and go to shapes and get a square. And then we are going to make that square 5 3/8 of an inch, which is 5.375 by 4 1/4. And then we're going to make sure we have it all the way up the X and the Y at 0. Then let's go into shapes and grab that score line. We're going to make that score line 4 1/4 inches long. And we're going to place that score line in the center at 2.687. Now, if you have all of these shapes available to you, I want you to go down to the bottom and get this round curve shape here. So click on it. So once we have our half circle here, we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. Then we're going to come up and hit flip and then flip horizontal. And then we have it facing the way we need it to be. Okay. Now, we are going to resize 0.644 by 0.322. And we're going to place the X at 2.789 and the Y at 3.537. Then we can right click, duplicate, and we can put the X at 2.786 and then the Y at 0.07. Okay, and then we can grab it all and hit attach. Now, if you happen to not have those shapes available to you in Design Space, that's okay. We're going to work something so it will work for us too that may not have it. So let's go to shapes and let's get a score line. Now we're going to take that score line and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. Now let's go ahead and so just so you guys can see it, I'm going to put mine on 8 and for my X, and then I'm going to work off of 0.125. Okay. Now we want to go up to operation and change it to a basic cut. Now, once we have that basic cut, we want to change it to 3/8 of an inch. So we're going to go over to height and hit 0.375. And I'm just going to move that back to 8 and 0.125. Then we're going to right click and duplicate. And we are going to put it on 8 for our Y. And then 8 for our X. And then for our Y, we're going to move it down to 0.708. Okay, so 0.708. Now let's right click, duplicate. We're going to rotate it back to 0. We are going to make that score line 5/8 of an inch. So that's 0.625. And then we're going to come up and put the X at 8 and the Y at 0.125. So a correction, guys, I'm sorry. We're going to put this line here, it should be at 3/4 of an inch. So it should be X at 8 and then your Y at 3/4 of an inch, which is 0.75. So we're just going to scoot it down just a little bit. Now that we have this, we've created our little mechanism that's going to hold our card down. Grab it all and hit attach. Then let's right click and duplicate. Then click on one of them and we are going to position this bottom one here. The X is going to be at 2.778 and the Y at 3.542. Still making sure your card is on X is on 0 and your Y is on 0. Okay, then go over here and grab your other one and we're going to position that one at 2.778 and then the Y at 0.083. And then we're going to grab it all and hit attach. Okay, then we can move this aside. You only need one of these. Alright, and then let's work on our next little piece here. We are going to go into shapes and we're going to get a square. So click on the square and then we're going to go into shapes and we're going to get this U-shaped tag. Okay. Then once we have that, we are going to resize it. This piece we are going to make 2.924 by 4.415. And then our square we're going to make 4.25 by 6. We position our square, the X at 0, and then the Y we're going to place it at 2.163. Then this shape we are going to place it at 0.662 for the X and the Y at 0. Then once we have that in place, we're going to grab them both and we're going to hit slice. So then we have this shape here. Okay, then we can get rid of all the other pieces except for this piece we want to keep. Okay, so once we have that, what we're going to do is make sure it's all the way up as far as we can get it, the X and the Y at 0. Now we're going to go into shapes and get a score line. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees. We are going to make that score line 4.25 inches long. And we are going to place the score line, the X at 0 and the Y at 3.25. Then we're going to right click, duplicate, and then we're going to change that score line to 5/8 of an inch for the height, which is 0.625. And then we're going to right click and duplicate that. And then we're going to take one of those score lines and place the X at 3.611 and the Y at 0.5. Then grab your other one and we're going to position the X at 0 and then the Y at a half an inch. If you have that U-shaped line available to you, go down and click on that, and we're going to take it and we are going to resize it to 0.644, and it should have changed the height to 0.322. Then we're going to take that and we're going to put the X at 3.597 and your Y at 0. Then we're going to right click, duplicate, and we're going to place that one, the X at 0, and then your Y at 0.028. Then we're going to grab it all and hit attach. Then we're going to hit right click and duplicate because we need 2 of these. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and move this over to our completed pieces. Now let's go into shapes again and we're going to get a square and go back into shapes and get this piece again. We are going to make our square 4 1/4 by 3.214, and then this shape we're going to go in and resize and we are going to make it 2.924, and it should have changed the height to 4.415. I have my square positioned, the X at 0 and the Y at 2.163. And then we're going to position this piece, the X at 0.662 and the Y at 0. Then we're going to grab them both and hit slice. Okay. Now we can get rid of all of these pieces. Now let's go back in to shapes and get a square. And we are going to make that square 5 by a half an inch. Take this piece here and we're going to position it at 0 for our X and our Y. Then our long piece we just made, we're also going to place it at X at 0 and our Y at 0. Then we're going to grab it both and hit slice. And we should have this piece. And this piece will go on top of our card for a pretty piece of paper. And right click and duplicate because we want 2 of those. And what we're going to do is go up to shapes 2 circles. So get one and then go back to shapes again. Get another circle. We are going to make one of the circles 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and then the yellow circle we're going to make 3 by 3. Okay? Okay guys, so these are all the pieces that we have and we will need for this pop-up card. These 5 pieces here, if you have not done the hot cocoa video, I have linked that below so you can go over there and get the directions to make these pieces. And don't forget to go up to save and save your project because we want to save that for later. And that's it guys, so let's go ahead and head over to the table and we'll start putting our card together. I'll see you there. Okay, now that we are at the table, we can get our pieces. We're going to need these 2 pieces, this piece that has our 2 slits cut in it, either the round or the square, whichever you use, and then our long piece, and then our pretty pieces here. Okay, now before I score this, I'm going to go ahead and put on my decorative pieces here, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay guys, I didn't have enough pieces cut, so I wanted to share this little tip with you that I know sometimes with certain vinyl, it's hard to see where it begins. And if you have a phone, which most of us do, turn your flashlight on and you can put it right up against it. And if you see, I don't know if you can, but you can see, yeah, there you go. You can see so much more of it to weed it. And I love doing it this way instead of getting out my light that I have to weed things. Sometimes I think that thing doesn't even work that great. But anyway, that's just a little tip for you. That would just be for like something quick you need to weed, not necessarily for a big project. Alright, now that we have this piece done, why don't we go ahead and work all of our score lines. Alright, now that we have all of these worked, what we can do is go ahead and glue our piece over to this side. So let's do that. And now we have our little base of our ice bucket. So let's set this aside, and what we can do is get our pieces out for our mechanism, which looks like this. And let's go ahead and work these score lines. So I like to work this score line, then this one, and then I like to go up to the top. And then we'll work this other arm over here. And then we can come down to this one on this little tab and work it under. And then we can push it under because we really don't need that right now. Now let's work this score line. And then our last one is this one right at the end here. And then go back up, and I forgot this line here, so let's work that line. And all of these are going to be mountain folds. So you should have something that is looking like this from the bottom. And that's from the top of it. So let's go ahead and work this other one. Now that we've gotten these worked, let's get our pieces of acetate out and glue those together. Now I'm going to be using 4 pieces because mine is quite flimsy, and this is the tape I like to use on it. So let's go ahead and glue our pieces together. Now that we have that done, we're going to need this piece in a minute to put it to adhere to our mechanism. So let's just set this piece aside and get these 2 pieces. And we are going to match them up back to back like so. Okay. Also, make sure you have a tab on this end and a tab on this end. Okay. And we can push these center tabs out of the way. Then once we have it lined up, we're just going to put glue and then close it shut, or tape. I'm using tape on my end, so I'm going to go ahead and get tape and put it down. So let's do that. Before we go any further, this is where we are going to adhere this piece. Okay, pick whichever side you would like to use, and we are only going to place it on this longer tab. So we have this short little tab here, and then we have this long tab here. We're going to place it on here and don't go any further than the score line. Okay, and I'm going to use tape. So you can just feed it through, and then I'm going to fold this under just so y'all can see, and then just placing it to it. And this just gives it support. So now that we have this piece adhered, we can go ahead and fold these 2 pieces up. Okay. Then this little tab here, we're going to place glue, fold it forward, and then place glue on it, and do the same to the other side, and we're going to glue it to this side. Now that we have that done, we can push it forward like so, and it pops our little mechanism in place. But let's go ahead and push it the rest of the way through like so. and you should have these two flaps and the center flap. Okay, fold this forward like so, and then if you need to, you can draw 2 lines on each side like I've done, and then we're only going to put glue inside of those 2 lines on this tab here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Now we can turn it over and do the other side. Now we can set this piece aside. And we should have another 2 pieces that's cut in half that look like a octagon or hexagon. Now what we're going to do with this is place it on top of here to give this a little bit more support, and I want mine to look like ice, so I did mine in a lighter blue. So we need to cut a hole in one of these so this will go through. So what I do is measure from this acetate to here to see how far it is. So mine looks to be like a 1/2 inch. So on this piece, I'm going to measure a 1/2 inch. Then we're going to take a cutter and cut a hole for this to go through. And there we have it. So we can just put some glue on this and then glue it down to our mechanism. So there we have it. Now let's just take this other piece and glue it on this side. And you're going to do the same thing for this piece. After you score it, this piece that goes on top, we'll need to cut it longer than a 1/2 inch because this is going to go through it. So I think this is 3/4 of an inch. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So mine fits through very nicely, so that'll work. So we can set this piece aside for now because we don't need it quite yet. So let's move on to this piece here. We can score it in the middle. And what we're going to do is place this not up to the score line. We don't want it right in it because it won't lay flat. We want to come off maybe 1/8 of an inch, if that. So that's about how far I'm coming off of my score line. And you want to do that on both sides, okay? So we're going to place glue on the side that doesn't have our tabs. Now on this side, we're going to place it just above our little tabs here. So we're going to have those covered, and that's about where we need to put it. Do not put glue on your tab, okay? Now we should have something that's looking like this, okay? Now we can go ahead, we haven't worked our score lines. Now we want our tabs to be on the inside of our card. So, like so, okay? Now what we can do is we can go ahead and work our tabs up here if you'd like. Okay. Now we can take our mechanism, and this is so snug we don't even have to glue it to this. It's not going to fall off. So we can push this in like so. And lay it flat. And we're going to center this up in between our two little tabs. These two pieces are going to bump right against our folded line, like so. The only place we are going to put glue is on this little T that we have going on here. Okay, and then we're going to bring it forward. And you want to make sure this is centered because we're going to have our circle that goes on here. Then we're going to turn it over and do the same thing. Put glue just on this T area. Okay, so now what we can do is put this on, and I'm gonna put a little tape on this side and then just adhere this side to it. Okay, but before I do that, I want to show y'all that this can go on. It's gonna be snug. Just feed it over your acetate and then just maneuver it on there, and you're gonna might have to squeeze your little mechanism in some, like push it in some, and then it'll slide right down on it perfectly. And it's not gonna go anywhere. It is on there snug. But before I put this on, I like to put my tape on my acetate before taking it off. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Now I'm gonna feed this back over it and put it on. Before we put this on, we need to feed this through here, and it can just set at the top, right? And then we'll feed this part through. And you'll feel it when it stops at the bottom. That's exactly where we want it. And you can pull it up just a little so it's not laying on the floor of the mechanism. Now I'm just going to fold mine up to make sure it's centered. Then what I'm going to do is take my back piece and feed it through here too. So this is my blue piece for my ice. I'm going to slide it down, and then once it's all lined up, and you're good with it, we can shut it and make sure it's lining up. Very nice, very nice. And that, I love how it's landing. I think it looks good. So what we can do is take our glue and put it on here and then adhere these two pieces to it. I don't really put any on the acetate. I just go around it. So there we have it. Very nice. Now we can shimmy our other piece back up here. And I'm not quite sure where I want to place mine yet, so I'm not gonna put mine down, but whenever you're ready to put it down, you can go as far down as you want or as high as you want. You're just gonna put tape on your two, or glue on your two little flaps here on this side and this side, and push it inside, and then adhere it to your little ice bucket. Okay, so before we close this up, what we can do is get our bucket handle, and we are just going to remove this and put it on top of my blue. Now what I like to do is bend at this corner right here, make a little score line. Okay. Now I want this to be further to the back, so I'm putting my handle on closest to me. This is going to be further to the back of the bucket. So on the right side and the left side, on the center, which is closest to these tabs, we are just going to put a little glue or a glue dot and glue it down like so. Okay, a half a glue dot there and a half glue dot there, and then I'm just gonna stick it on that side in the center, and then on this side. And then we can fold it down. And there we have it. Cute. We can go ahead and bring this up, and we're gonna fold these two tabs in to each other like so. And we're going to make sure this is flat. And then we are going to glue these tabs to each other. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we can push it down. And see how it's kind of bowing up? That's okay. make sure your little tabs are glued. But whichever way your U tabs are on the inside, you want to fold the tab that way. Okay, so mine is on this side, so I'm folding it towards the left. And then you can lift that little tab up just a little and slip it under, and do the same thing over here. Lift that tab up just a little. And slip it under. And the more you work the little tab on the bottom, the easier it will become to put it on. We can take our pretty pieces and go ahead and put them on. So let's go ahead and do that. And there we have it, guys. What I'm gonna do now is go ahead and finish decorating mine, and then I'll meet you back here, okay? As the last piece I wanted to show you how to glue on is this piece, which goes on the front here, and wherever you decide to position it, you are only going to glue beyond this line here, the score line. So I'm going to turn mine over, and I like mine right there. So what I'm going to do is just sketch a little line, and then I know my glue is going to go everywhere below that line. Okay? So everything above this should be loose. And there we have it. So this is the idea I came up with to do a Happy New Year card. And as we can see, it says Happy New Year here, and cheers with 2 glasses of champagne. And then of course my favorite part is how we can just push it down and then fold our little tabs under, and we'll hold it into place. And see how mine's lifting up here at the end? We just need to work our card just a little bit, and it will lay flat. See how it's laying flat now? But to show you what I put in my ice bucket, I did a bottle of champagne, and then I just used some blue vinyl to give it like a icy look on the inside. And I just love how it can lay flat and hold itself up. Then we can undo it and turn it around, and we have this really nice little place we can write a message to somebody to. And then I just put a little bit of decoration here to brighten up the back. And there you have it, guys. We did it. You probably don't know a lot about me, but one of the reasons I started crafting was because of my mother. I'm sorry, guys. She was the one that got into doing and working with the Cricut and showed me how to. And she's passed. It's been many years, but one thing that we always share with each other was a joke. So I think I'd like to start a tradition at the end of my video to give you guys a funny little joke. One of my favorite jokes we used to tell each other is, what does a bee say to the sushi, "What's up, B?" Anyways, guys, I want to say thanks so much for crafting with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.